Welcome back to another podcast of Heal Without Harm. My name is Dr. Clayton Dir, physical therapist, and the one bringing you the truth about the medical system. Today's podcast is going to be the final one in a series of 4 pillars. The first one being exercise, the second one being nutrition, the third one being hydration, and today's episode is going to be that little supplement that you never have given enough time to that is probably holding back all of your gains. It's the thing keeping you grumpy, it's the thing keeping you from eating like you want, and it's the thing making you oh so tired and unable to perform well on the first 3 pillars. Today we're going to be talking about sleep. The fact that you should not only be getting more, probably, but the main focus is actually going to be on better sleep. We would actually rather you have less sleep that is more efficient as opposed to just being in bed longer, ultimately. Did you know that up to a third of adults don't get enough quality sleep? And I would even argue it's probably more than that. It's something that can be connected to your stress levels, your pain, your mood issues, your performance being down, your strength gains being held back, and your nutrition being that much harder to control. It is a performance tool. It is the supplement that is being slept on, every single pun intended. We need to think of it as overall recovery because that is the time that your body is being rebuilt. It's when your brain is solidifying all the neural patterns that it tried to learn that day for better or for worse. So if you can make good choices in the day and then sleep well at night, that'll reinforce those good things. By the end of this episode, you'll have a simple 4-step sleep hygiene system you can actually follow. Sleep hygiene to me has always been a weird set of words, but it's just ultimately everything around you going to bed. It's the daily habits and the environment that make it easier to fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up restored. What I have found is you can't white knuckle your stuff through this. You can't white knuckle yourself through this process, You need to make the environment work for you, which sounds, I don't know, all hocusy pocusy, but it really does make a big difference. I've noticed that, I think it's probably my mom growing up, but I've noticed as the day starts to wind down, we start turning off overhead lights, we start closing up windows, and we start turning on lamps. And it just seems cozier and more comfortable, right? Well, the purpose of that and the reason that we generally like it is as the light outside goes away, the sun goes down, is what I mean. We want the same to happen on the inside. So we don't want overhead lights confusing our brain and thinking the sun is out. We want lights that are at or below the horizon. So we turn on lamps that make the light go downwards, where it lights up the room, yes, but it's not this bright light above our head. That's one thing that I've always done. Another thing is generally make sounds a little bit quieter, maybe turn off electronics, all of these other things that are going to help you wind down and tell your body and your brain, hey, we're going to start getting ready for bed now. And we're going to start winding down and start lowering the energy levels, lowering the sound, lowering the lights so that our body can kind of see what's coming. One of the main things, though, when it comes to all of this is making sure that you do the same thing. Sorry, not the same thing, but make sure you're going to bed about the same time and you're waking up about the same time every single day. Your body loves patterns. And if you have an animal like a dog or a cat, you will understand that every living being loves patterns. They will bother you every night at the same time, every morning at the same time for food or for using the restroom. Treat your body the exact same. Let's get into some actual numbers ultimately. Each night, the goal is going to be 7 to 9 hours of sleep for most adults. And then if you feel like that's too much or too little, you can start to individualize. I will be very transparent with you. I get between 6 and 7 hours. I don't prioritize time as much as I should. However, I have 2 little ones at home and a wife that I want to spend time with and see. And it makes it challenging because I have to wake up early in the morning to get my workouts in. And so sleep is something that I sacrifice. It is lower on the list for me. But if you think you are being held back by your goals or if you think you're being held back from your goals, then this may be something that you want to pay attention to. As we get going through this, I just want you to pick 1 or 2 things that you feel like you can actually change in your day to help you get better sleep. Going back to the time, 7 to 9 hours is going to be the goal. You want to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, and you want to anchor your circadian clock so that your brain realizes there's a very predictable pattern on when we are going to start winding down and going to sleep through the actions that you're doing, and then also the time that's going to be on the clock. And then in the morning, it knows about what time you're going to be waking up. Another huge thing that can be helpful, this is hard for me because I wake up at 4:45 in the morning, so the sun is not out. But when you wake up in the morning trying to get morning daylight exposure, for 10 to 30 minutes to reinforce the internal clock and make nighttime melatonin release more reliable. Your body runs on a clock. Your body uses hormones to help regulate this clock. And the more that you can hit sunlight in the morning, the more your brain realizes, oh my gosh, this is morning time. So it knows later in the day when the sun goes down, it is nighttime. It is time to crank up melatonin release naturally. I would not recommend, although this is out of my scope. As a friend to whoever's listening, I don't take melatonin. My wife, my daughters don't take melatonin. I don't necessarily recommend it. They've even done studies on a lot of the supplements. Some supplements do have it, some don't, even though they all say they have it, and almost none of them were really in line with the amount that they said is on there. You can handle this yourself just by having a routine that works for you, getting sunlight exposure in the morning, and making sure you have the same bedtime and wake up time every single day. So what I would do is I would set your wake up time first. For me, I think, okay, I need to get to work at 7, which means I need to leave the gym at 6:40, which means I need to get done with the workout at probably 6:15, so I have time to shower. The class starts at 5:15. I need to leave by 5. Again, I'm working backwards. I need to leave at 5, which has me waking up at 4:45 to 5 to get out of bed and get out of there. Now, if I want 7 hours, of sleep, assuming I can fall asleep right when I want to, that means I need to be going to bed at 9:45. That is not what I do. I usually try to start heading towards the bed at 9:45, and I'm probably asleep between 10:10 and 10:30 each night. But that is a way that you can kind of work backwards. And then for some people, I don't do this, I don't need to do it, but I have enough routine already built in that I don't have to, is you can set a wind down alarm. So 60 minutes before bed. So for me, it would be 8:45. It's like, hey, dude, you should probably start turning off electronics. You should start brushing your teeth, taking your contacts out, changing into pajamas if you haven't yet. Start heading towards bed so that'll be nice and easy to go into bed and fall asleep. Second thing, a pre-bed routine, a wind down, ultimately. We've already kind of alluded to this, but finding some nice little habits or rituals that you can do right before you're going to head off to sleep, maybe 30, 60 minutes before. Try to get rid of any devices. So quit watching TV, quit being on your phone, quit being on the laptop, anything like that, so that your brain starts to realize, okay, we're heading to bed, right? So you're going to swap those things for reading, maybe doing some deep breathing, maybe some gentle stretching. I've actually really liked these, by the way. You get done and you're just like, man, I feel good. Anyway, doing some gentle stretching, some journaling, maybe some prayer or meditation, tie in the nervous system into this so that your brain is like, okay, cool, calm, chill, relax, deep breathing, parasympathetic system. Let's calm down and lower the heart rate. Pause right here. This is a time that if you find yourself having difficulty, I want you to recruit somebody in your life to help. For example, have your spouse do this with you. Hey, I would like to pray every single night. I would like to do some reading together every single night. Tell your kids if they go to bed about the same time as you, hey, let's do stretches right before bed, so that you have not only this fun routine with someone, but you have somebody holding you accountable and you can hold them accountable. But both of you are going to start getting better sleep because of this. Another one is avoiding large meals before bed because it can affect your blood sugar a little bit and sometimes keep you awake or let you not fall into as deep of a sleep. This is one, to be transparent again, I eat a protein bar and a glass of high protein milk right before bed. It is something that I've always done, and when I try to white knuckle through it, I swear I'm just more grumpy in life. So I try to eat at least something that's high protein and lower calorie, but I do that before bed. But if you can avoid large meals or at least trial that, that may be something that's helpful for you. Avoiding alcohol. I know this one is a little counterintuitive. People think, well, I drink alcohol so I can fall asleep. The downside is it is a depressant, meaning it makes you slow down. It makes you calm, right? It helps you fall asleep, no doubt, but you are going to get very, very bad sleep. So going back to, I don't want you to get more sleep. I want you to get better sleep. So falling asleep, yes, is one thing, but being able to sleep in a good, deep sleep is the most important part. Alcohol tricks you by helping you close your eyes and go into the sleep, but it's a very poor sleep that you'll end up having. So avoid alcohol before bed. A last one that I'll mention is caffeine. Most people say 10 to 12 hours before bed. If you're going to bed at 10, that means like 10 or 11 or noon in the day, you're cutting off caffeine. If that's too hard for you, then shrink it down to 6 or 8 hours. For me, I actually have an alarm on my phone that says no more caffeine every day at 2 p.m. So I have 8 hours before I'm going to bed that I've cut out caffeine. So that's another one that you can play with and try to avoid. A quick little script, maybe an hour before bed, you dim the lights, no more email or social media or any sort of TV. And then 30 minutes before bed, you're starting to do your stretches, your breathing, your journaling or reading, something like that to really start to wind down. And then at bedtime, get in bed, lights off, no scrolling, crash. This is something my wife always makes fun of me for. In general, my goal, I will stand next to the bed on my phone in a way to avoid being on my phone in bed. So that it's like, okay, phone down, now I get into bed and I will be lights out. I will crash quite quickly, something she is generally envious of. This next one, make sure your sleep environment is very, very conducive to sleeping. This one may be expensive in the summertime, but they do recommend having your room at about 65 degrees, which is a little chilly. Ours is usually about 68 is where we keep ours, but you want to make sure that is a cool, dark, quiet bedroom. Even little tiny lights from like alarm clocks or the little dot on your TV, anything like that sometimes can actually throw you off and make it a little bit harder for you to fall asleep because any source of light, your brain may think that it's still a little bit daytime. And so keeping it nice, cool, and dark, block any sort of light that you can with blackout curtains, an eye mask, something like that will be very helpful. If you want to use earplugs or white noise to also block out sound, you can do that as well. But ultimately trying to shut down the world around you so that you can have a nice, good sleep. The one thing I want to make sure you take away from not today's, but like this section is use your bed for sleep and sex only. Those are the only two things that I want you trying to do in bed so that your brain knows when I get into bed, I am going to sleep. Condition yourself just like you would a toddler. Ultimately, I have a phrase I say, we need to treat toddlers like kids, but be patient with them as they are toddlers. And we need to treat adults like they are kids, but have the patience and under expectations with the fact that they're adults ultimately. And so I would audit your room, maybe think about your room tonight and think, okay, what is the temperature? How much light is in my room? How noisy is it? Anything like that, and see, am I using the bed for something other than sleep and sex, like I mentioned? And if so, start getting that stuff out of bed so that when you get into bed, your body knows it's night time. Last big thing I want to have you take away for today is think about what you're doing in the day. The theme here will be earn your sleep, meaning you need to be up and moving and active in the daytime so that when you go to bed, you've earned your sleep and it's easier for your body to crash. People who are desk workers that don't get up and move much, that sit around and watch TV a lot or sit around and game a lot, it's like you didn't work and move enough in the day for your brain to really know the difference between wake time and sleep time. And so the more that you can be up and moving and active in the daytime is going to be better. And you can even do something like this. You can time your workouts or your heavier physical activity earlier in the morning. As they've done a study where they had athletes work out at 7 a.m., they had them work out at 1 p.m., and then they had them work out at 7 p.m. There was days in between, but like for a couple days, they would wake up at 7 a.m., work out, and then go on with their day. And then like a week later, they would do the same thing, but they would wake up, go on with their day, work out at 1 p.m., and then a week later, they would have them do their normal day and then work out at 7 p.m. And they found to get the most efficient sleep, meaning the best sleep for the time allotted, people who worked out at 7 a.m. actually had better sleep than the people who worked out at 1 p.m. or when they worked out at 7 p.m. So the earlier that you can wake up, the earlier you can have your workout, the better. I've even tried this on myself. When my daughter was under 1 year old, my first daughter, I would go to work out at 8 p.m. And when I got back and tried to go to bed at 10, it did not work. I ended up not going to bed until 11 or 11:30 on those nights as I just felt wired. I felt happy. I felt excited and energetic. And so therefore my sleep was also pretty bad. And so I found like I need to find a way to wake up in the morning and go work out. And research study of one right there, morning workouts help sleep significantly. Another one is limit daytime naps, either 0 or do them very short. If anything, keep it under an hour and try to have it before the mid-afternoon. Too late in the day, and then it'll throw off your entire sleep schedule. And so try to keep daytime naps to a minimum. 20, 30-minute naps, if you need them, are going to be ideal. We've already talked about this, but making sure that if you're consuming caffeine, you're doing so early in the day and you cut it off anywhere from 6 to 8 or even up to 12 hours before bed. Nicotine is a massive sleep disruptor and has a huge effect on our body's ability to sleep. So if you're somebody who uses either cigarettes, vapes, or those pouches or anything like that that has nicotine, that may be a huge impact on your sleep. So keep that in mind. Also, we talked about how alcohol can help you fall asleep, but it ultimately ruins your quality of sleep. And so try to limit alcohol. If anything, just cut it out entirely. Whew. All right, let's finish this out. I do want to let you know that these are all basics. This is sleep hygiene basics. And so if you have something like chronic insomnia, or you feel like you have sleep apnea, just fixing up your sleep hygiene is probably not going to be enough ultimately. Try out some of the things that I've talked about, and if you try those and they work, fantastic. If you've already tried all these and you feel like, man, I've already tried a lot and this still isn't working, this may be a time that you have a conversation with your medical doctor, or maybe you go see a myofunctional therapist, someone who can talk about your breathing habits. And are you breathing through your nose, your mouth? Are you snoring at night? Do you have sleep apnea? What are you doing, or what do you have that may be limiting your ability to sleep well? And have a professional who specializes in that kind of have that conversation with you and start running some tests. Sometimes for that chronic insomniac or the chronic insomnia sufferer, you can do things like cognitive behavior therapy to start trying to wind down your brain, as I know sometimes racing thoughts and anxiety can be a huge challenge to sleeping ultimately. I want to let you know that sleep hygiene is foundational, but it's not a cure-all. If you've got this dialed in and you're still struggling, there's going to be evidence that you probably need to get appropriately evaluated and not ultimately blame yourself for this. I want you to pick one or two things that I talked about. I don't want you to try it for the next 7 days. Just lock in one or two consistent things. It could be something like a consistent wake time, a consistent bedtime, morning sunshine. You could add 15 minutes as a wind down routine, or maybe you're fixing your sleep environment, your temperature, the darkness, the noise. You're going to pick one of those and stick to it. If you could please screenshot your setup, or take a picture of your setup, or screenshot what you're changing, write it down, let me know, share it on some sort of social media. I would love to hear how this episode ultimately helped you with your sleeping and how it helped you ultimately get all your gains, whether it be muscle gains, weight loss, fat loss, happiness, mood change, brain clarity, like getting rid of brain fog and helping some mental clarity, whatever it may be. I hope today's was really helpful, as that was the 4th pillar in my 4 pillars of health. If you feel like someone that you know needs to hear this or needs to hear all 4 pillars, please share it with them. Please ultimately send it to them right now so it can help me, help you ultimately build a better medical system. That was today's final episode of the 4 pillars of health, and I hope today you learned a little bit more how to heal without harm.